So now we're going to be looking at the lookup functions, and for the lookup functions we're going to be looking at the lookup function, then we'll have the VLOOKUP, we'll have the HLOOKUP, the index, and the match. So we're going to be starting with the lookup function, and so far we'll have two tables, and this one is considered to be a vertical table while the second one is a horizontal table. So we're going to be using the lookup function to determine values in our table. Imagine that you want to determine the price for rice or the unit sold for rice. You can easily do this using the lookup function. So let's take, for instance, we want to determine the price for rice. So what you need to do is let's place the value here. So I'm going to put the quality symbol, then type lookup. And here you can see from the tooltip we're required to provide the lookup value and the array. So the lookup value is the value you are looking for. So let's go ahead and select rice. This is what we're trying to look for. And then the next thing is to provide the lookup vector or the lookup array. So I'm going to be selecting the entire data. So I'm going to select all these cells and then close it up. So this is going to return the unit sold because from the lookup array, the last column there is the unit sold. So this is going to return 20 for rice. So this is 20. So if you want to return for price, what you need to do is you make your selection and stop it at the column for price. So let's go ahead and have another table here. So I can call this table item, and for the other one I'm going to call it category, and we're going to have the price and then unit sold. So we're going to be using the lookup value to determine the category, the price, and the unit sold. So let me clear this. So we're going to be starting afresh. So let's say we want to determine all this information for rice. So we're going to have rice here. Then for the category, we want to determine the category where rice belongs to. I can simply write equal to, then have lookup. And then for the lookup value, I'm going to select rice and then have a comma. And the next thing is to provide the lookup vector or the array. So I'm going to be doing a selection and I'm going to be stopping at the column for category. So I'm going to be selecting all the cells, then close it up. So this is going to give me food. Then let's find out the price. For the price, I'm going to write equal to and then have look up. And for the value, we're looking for rice. Then the next thing is we want to determine the price. So I'm going to be making my selection starting from here all the way to price and then all the way down. So this is going to give me the price, which is 30,000. Then for the unit sold, we're going to also use the lookup again. So we're going to have look up, then the lookup value, which is rice, and then we'll have a comma and then select the array. So I'm going to be selecting the entire data. So I'm going to select it all the way to the unit sold and all the way down, then close up the brackets. So this is going to give me the unit sold. So this is a typical application of the lookup function on a vertical table. So now we're going to be looking at the horizontal table, and here we'll have the weight and the cost. So if the weight is 1 kg, the cost is 500, and for 2 kg we'll have 800, and for 5 kg we'll have 1,500. So if you want to determine the cost for a given kilogram, you can use the lookup function. So let's go ahead and try it out. So I'm going to have equal to, then I'll have lookup. Now I'm going to be selecting the lookup value. So let's say we want to determine the cost for 1 kg. So I can write 1 here and then put a comma. Then select the array or the lookup vector. So I'm going to be selecting the entire table, then close it up. So this is going to give me 500. If I want to check for 2 kg, I can change it to 2. This is going to give me 800. Then if I want to determine for 3 kg, for instance, I'll write 3, and it is still going to give me 800. So if we want to determine for 5 kg, I can put 5 here, and this is going to give me the cost for 5 kg, which is 1,500. So let's say I put 6 kg here. It's also going to give me 1,500. So this is how we use the lookup function. Then now we're going to be looking at the VLOOKUP, and the VLOOKUP function works very well for vertical tables. So let me go ahead and clear these records. So we're going to be using the VLOOKUP to determine values. And for this, I'm going to put rice there. And for the category, we're going to be using the VLOOKUP to determine the category. So here is the syntax of how you use the VLOOKUP function. So have our equality. So I'm going to be selecting the VLOOKUP here. So the first thing to provide is the lookup value, and we're looking for rice. Then the next thing to provide is the table array. So I'm going to be selecting the entire table. Okay, then have a comma. Then the next one is the column index number, and this column index number is the index number where you want to get your match, or where you want to look for the value. Since we're looking for the category has the index of 2. The first one being the item name, and the second one being the category. So prices has the index of 3, and unit sold has the index of 4. So since we're looking for the category, we're going to provide 2. So this is going to give us food. So let's look for the price. So for the price, we're going to have VLOOKUP, and then we'll have the lookup value, which is rice, then have a comma, and then we'll select the table array, which is this table. Then for the column index number, we're going to provide 3 there, and then close up the bracket. This is going to give us 3,000. And then we'll have the unit sold. The unit sold, we have our VLOOKUP, and we'll still select rice again, put a comma, and then select the table array, which is this. Then put a comma, and then provide the column index number, which is 4, and then close up the brackets. This is going to give us the unit sold. So this is essentially how you use the VLOOKUP, and VLOOKUP works very well with vertical tables. Then the next one we're going to be looking at is the HLOOKUP. This one works with the horizontal table. So we're going to be using the HLOOKUP with this horizontal table here. So let's say we want to determine the cost for 2 kg using the HLOOKUP. So here I'm going to have equal to, then write HLOOKUP, and let me select it. Then the first thing is the lookup value, and we're looking for 2 kg, so I'm going to select 2, then put a comma. The next thing to provide is the table array, so I'm going to be selecting the entire table, then have a comma. Then the next one is the row index number, and since we're looking for the cost, the index number is 2. Weight being the first one, the cost is 2. So we're going to have 2 as our row index number, and then close it up. So this is going to give us 800. If we're looking for the cost for 5 kg, I can simply type 5 here, and this is going to give me 1,500. So we've looked at the lookup function, looked at the VLOOKUP, and also the HLOOKUP. So the next set of functions we're going to be looking at is the index and the match. But let's start with the match function. The match function is typically used to determine the position of a value in a selection or in a table. So let's go ahead and determine this. Imagine I select these cells and I want to determine the position of soap. As you can see, the table is not numbered, and if you want to determine the position of soap, you can easily do this using the match function. So for this, I'm going to be selecting soap as the lookup value, then put a comma. The next thing to provide is the lookup array. So I'm going to be selecting all the values under the item name, including the soap. Then the next one is the match type. So when you want the exact match, you use 0. So this is going to give us the exact match. Then I'll close up the parentheses. And if I hit the enter key, it is going to give me 8. So let's say I want to determine for the position for rice. I can change this to rice. So let me go ahead and delete this and then select rice and then hit the enter. This is going to give me 1. If I want for spaghetti, I can put equal to, then have match, then select spaghetti, then put a comma, select the lookup array, which is this, and then put a comma, then select the match type, which is 0, and then close it up. So this is going to give me 2. Then the next one is the index. The index is like the opposite of the match, because this one returns the value associated with a given index. So if you're looking for the item in the first position, you're going to be using the index function. So let's say we want to find which item is at the position 1, and we're going to be using the index function to do this. So I'm going to go over here and we'll have our equal to, then we'll have index. Here I'm going to provide the array. So I'm going to be selecting the entire cells here, then put a comma. So the next thing to do is to provide the row number. So I'm going to write 1 and then close this up. So this is going to give me rice. So if I want to determine the item in the position 2, I'll change this to 2. So this is going to give me spaghetti. If I want to determine the item at the position 7, I'm going to change this to 7, and it is going to give me cornflakes. So this is how to make use of the lookup functions.